The evolution of cell. The earliest cells probably arose about 3.5 billion years ago in the rich mixture of organic compounds, the primordial soup of prebiotic times. They were almost certainly chemoheterotrophs. Primitive heterotrophs gradually acquired the capability to derive energy from certain compounds in their environment and to use that energy to synthesize more and more of their own precursor molecules, thereby becoming less dependent on outside sources of these molecules, less extremely heterotrophic. A very significant evolutionary event was the development of photosynthetic ability to fix carbon dioxide into more complex organic compounds. The original electron, that is hydrogen donor of these photosynthetic organisms, was probably H2S, yielding elemental sulfur as a byproduct, but at the same time cells developed the enzymatic capacity to use water as the electron donor in photosynthetic reactions producing oxygen. The cyanobacteria are the more modern descendant of these early photosynthetic oxygen producers. One important landmark along this evolutionary road occurred when there was a transition from small cell with relatively simple internal structures, the so-called prokaryotic cells, which include various types of bacteria, to a flourishing of large and radically more complex eukaryotic cells such as are found in higher animals and plants. The fossil record shows that earliest eukaryotic cells evolved about 1.5 billion years ago. Details of the evolutionary path from prokaryotes to eukaryotes cannot be deduced from the fossil record alone, but morphological and biochemical comparison of modern organisms has suggested a reasonable sequence of events consistent with the fossil evidence. Three major changes must have occurred as prokaryotes gave rise to eukaryotes. First, as cells acquired more DNA, mechanisms evolved to fold it compactly into discrete complexes with specific proteins and to divide it equally between daughter cells at cell division. These DNA protein complexes, called chromosome, become especially compact at the time of cell division. Second, as cells became larger and intracellular membrane bound organelles developed, eukaryotic cells have a nucleus which contains most of the cell's DNA enclosed by a double layer of membrane. The DNA is thereby kept in a compartment separate from the rest of the contents of the cell, the cytoplasm, where most of the cell's metabolic reactions occur. Finally, primitive eukaryotic cells, which were incapable of photosynthesis or of aerobic metabolism, pooled their assets with those of aerobic bacteria or photosynthetic bacteria to form symbiotic associations that became permanent. Some aerobic bacteria evolved into the mitochondria of modern eukaryotes, and some photosynthetic cyanobacteria became the chloroplast of modern plant cells.